Almost there. Chapter 50, Tiana. Tiana wasn't sure how long she stood there, her body too exhausted for her to consider moving even a single limb. Had that really just happened? Was she actually, finally free of Facilier? Even though she'd seen it with her own eyes, it was still hard to believe she'd eradicated him from her life once and for all. She spotted the rolled-up sheaf of papers on the floor. She picked it up and unfurled the tattered edges, taking a moment to read over it. Tiana's breath caught in her throat as she absorbed the words, her heart thumping wildly as the enormity of the fate she just escaped sank in. She could have very well signed away her soul. She gripped each end of the contract and tore the document in two. Then she tore it again and again and again. Each rip was like music to her ears. It sounded like freedom. "Tia, there you are!" Tiana swung around, surprise and happiness lifting her heart at the sight of her friends. Charlotte led the charge, followed by Naveen, Louis, and Lizette. "What are you all doing here?" Tiana exclaimed, but her voice held no censor. She was so happy to see them all, grateful they hadn't heeded her command to stay away. Charlotte wrapped her arms around her. "Oh, Tia, I was so afraid for you. I wanted to see you when I heard about your daddy, and Lizette told me you'd left. I realized you must have gone after that awful man." "I'm okay, Lottie, and we don't have to worry about Facilier anymore." Charlotte jerked her head back and regarded Tiana, concern etched across her furrowed brow. "What happened?" Charlotte asked. "He got out-tricked," Tiana answered, leaving it to that. No one else needed to know what had taken place in this room. Naveen walked up to her and gently cradled Tiana's cheek in his warm palm. He brushed his thumb over her cheekbone. "You've been hurt, mine poupette," he said. Tiana was surprised by the bright red blood glistening on his thumb when he pulled it away from her face. She had no idea when she'd been cut. "It's nothing," she said. "I'll be fine." "Are you sure? Lizette," he called over her shoulder. "No, really, I'm fine," Tiana said. She turned to Charlotte and grabbed her by the shoulders. "Lottie, your daddy is here somewhere and others too. We just have to find him." "What?" her friend gasped. "Where?" "I don't know. Fan out." Tiana called to the group. "Search every nook and cranny. Facilier told me they were hidden in a room somewhere in this house." She pivoted on her heel, setting out for the door just the right of them, but Naveen caught her arm and pulled her back to him. "Tiana, are you sure you're okay?" he asked. "At least let Lizette take a look at those scrapes." His concern touched her. She was struck once again by how different he was from that self-absorbed cad he'd been when they had met him a year ago. Despite her best efforts not to, she'd fallen in love with him. It'd be so very easy to love this kinder, more considerate Naveen. Tiana's breath caught in her throat, and her eyes grew wide as it suddenly occurred to her that there was nothing stopping them from being together anymore. Facilier was gone, and with him the barrier keeping her and Naveen apart. Tiana beamed up at him. "I promise you, I'm just fine," Tiana reassured him. She cradled his face between her hands. "I will explain as much as I can very soon, but right now we need to find those folks the shadow men kidnapped." She grabbed him by the hand and headed for the rear of the house. The structure was so much larger than it seemed from the unassuming entrance, stretching back at least half a block or more. Before Tiana could turn the knob of the first door she heard Louis' rousing call from somewhere around the long hallway. "I think they're in here," Louis called. Tiana and Naveen raced to where Louis stood. Naveen put his ear to the door. "Mr. LaBeouf?" There was a pause, and then a cacophony of muffled cries clamored by just beyond the door. "Yes, there they are," Naveen said excitedly. He tried the door handle, but it was locked. No matter how violently he wrenched at it, it wouldn't budge. "Should we search for a key?" "In this house?" Tiana asked. "That could take a lifetime. No one knows where the key to this door may be hidden." Or, even worse, what if Facilier had taken the key with him to the other side? "Maybe we should knock it down?" Louis suggested. "Out of my way," Lizette demanded, pushing her way through. She reached under the cloth covering her hairpin and retrieved a hairpin, then stuck the pin inside the lock and jiggled it. There was a click. She turned the knob and pushed the door open. For a moment no one moved. They were all stunned at the sight before them. Eli LaBeouf, Addie May, Georgia, Eugene, and Mr. Slavagiev sat on the floor with their backs against the wall and their hands tied together with twine. Ragged pieces of cloths covered their mouths, preventing them from talking, and they were filthy, with dirt and grime streaking their faces. "Big Daddy!" Charlotte rushed to the room and threw her arms around her father. "Let's get him untied first, Lottie," Tiana suggested. She, Naveen, and Lizette made quick work of untangling the knots and setting the 5 of them loose from the bonds Facilier had used to imprison them. "Where is he?" Mr. LaBeouf said, scrambling from the door. "It's okay, Daddy," Charlotte said. "You don't have to worry about him. Tiana took care of Facilier." "That's right. No one has to worry about the Shadow Man again," Tiana said. She turned to Addie Mae and wrapped her friend in a hug. She turned to Georgia and Eugene and did the same. "I am so sorry for what he did to all of you. It's over now." But as she stood there with her arms around her loved ones, Tiana realized that it wasn't over. Her heartache was beginning anew as reality sank in. She would once again have to endure the pain of living in this world without her father. As she waited for the soul-crushing grief to envelop her, an odd feeling happened. The grief failed to materialize. Instead, she felt joy. An overwhelming sense of peace weaved its way around her sadness. Tiana knew she would always miss her daddy, but the hole his passing had left in her heart wasn't as hollow this time around. It was filled with memories of the past year, the laughs they shared, the meals they prepared together, and the all-encompassing love they experienced every single day. And a true goodbye. Tiana closed her eyes tight, holding on to those memories. They would be with her always, just as her daddy would be with her. Always. A muted rumble sounded from somewhere in the distance. Tiana tipped her head to the side to hear it better. "What is that?" she asked. The growing noise quickly became clearer. It was the sound of a jazz band playing around the roar of a crowd. "That's Mardi Gras you're hearing," Louis answered. "Time for me to get my horn and join the parade." "I guess a little fog and green scum ain't enough to stop Mardi Gras," Charlotte said. "Come on, Lizette," she said, taking the girl by the arm. "We don't want to miss the floats." Tiana followed the others out of Facilier's home. "The fog," Lizette said once outside. "It's gone." "So is that nasty green stuff from the river," Charlotte remarked. "Sure is," said a guy standing next to them on the sidewalk, bobbing his head to the music of the band. "Most peculiar thing. Just as the sun went down, the fog rolled out as quickly as it had rolled in. Same goes for the algae from the river." "Sundown?" "Symmetry," Tiana whispered. "What was that?" Naveen asked. "Nothing," she said. She looked up at him and smiled. Then she tipped her head toward where the others had wandered off, following the marching band in the crowd of costumed revelers as they made their way through the French Quarter. "What do you say?" Tiana asked. "You want to join the parade?" Naveen's brow furrowed. "Are you sure you're not too tired?" "Nope," she shook her head. "I've realized just how short life is. I think I shall let my hair down for a change." She winked and held her hand out to him. "Let's go have some fun."